Today I want to show you how to make a frazzled snowman. These things are so cute and you can make it with things that you already have. So like trash, I have this coffee creamer container, and once it was cleaned out, then I removed the label from the bottle. So now I'm left with this plastic bottle. You don't necessarily have to use a bottle like this. Any type of bottle will work. This bottle is a little bit tall for the snowman I'm going to make, so I'm going to cut the bottom off. So I'm going to remove about an inch from the bottom of the container. Now, if you're going to be doing this, please be very careful if you're going to use a knife like I'm using. I find it a little bit easier to get started by using a knife at first. And then I'm coming back with scissors and just removing the excess because I don't want my snowman to be wobbly. Once I was happy with the base of my snowman, then I came back with the fabric, and I found this fabric on Amazon, and it's a faux fur, but it's got a really long pile to it. Now, if you're going to be working with a long pile like this type of faux fur, you don't want to just cut down the material because then you're going to cut the fur itself. So one way that you can do this, and I don't know if it's right or wrong, but I'm just going to smooth out basically a seam. And then I'm going to carefully take my scissors and just cut the material, being extra careful not to cut any of the fur. This is one way that you can do it. I'll show you another way in a minute. So this is the piece of fur that I'm going to be using. I measured it off using the coffee creamer container, and this is going to be probably a little bit long for my snowman. But this way you don't have to have specific measurements. You can just use your container. So I'm going to be working with the back of the fabric, and I ran a bead of hot glue down about 3/4 of the weight of the fabric. Then I took my coffee creamer container and I secured it to the fabric. I did the bottom part first, then I came back and secured the top. And as you can see, the top is a little bit taller than the container. That's okay, that's on purpose. And then I just carefully rolled the fabric around the container, and I took little pit stops to use a little bit of hot glue along the process. By doing it this way, I don't have to worry that the fabric is going to droop down. So probably about 1/4 of a turn, then I would come back with my glue gun and glue it down. Then I would come back with my fabric and glue it and then roll the container over the top. And like I said, this fabric piece was a little bit long, so I did remove the excess by cutting on the back. Now again, I'm only cutting the fabric portion. I'm being very cautious not to cut the fur portion. This way I don't get cut marks in the fur. And then I'm going to continue the process of gluing and wrapping the fur around the bottle. Now I did make a point to make sure it was nice and straight, just because this bottle has a wider base. So when I'm rolling the fur around the top, it will gather just a little bit, but that's okay. It won't affect the overall end result. And once I got to the very end of the fabric, I ran one more bead of the hot glue along the very edge, and then I secured it to the container. And once I had the fabric in place, I just couldn't help myself. I had to mess around with the fabric a little bit and just kind of fluff it up just to see how fluffy my frazzled snowman will end up. Next, I flip the container over, and what I'm going to do is just use a little bit of hot glue right around that bottom edge. So I'm just going to fold the fabric right over that very bottom lip of the container. I don't have a lot of extra room, but I just need a little bit just to go over the edge of the lip. That will make it so that the material is on the bottom and is not rubbing on the plastic container. And I just worked my way around, gluing tiny sections of the fabric to the container until all of the fabric was attached to the bottom. Then I flipped it over to the top, and you can see where it's kind of bunched up just a little bit. But that's all right. That's not a big deal. So I'm just going to use a little bit more hot glue, and I'm going to tuck it down into the top. And even where the fabric was doubled up a little bit, I just continued to push it down into that top open section. And anywhere that there was fabric that was not attached, I used a little more hot glue and just repeated that same step. Then I took my silicone stir stick and I just pushed it down into the center to make sure all of the fabric is pushed down and that will not show on the end project. And a little more fluffing, can't help but to fluff it. Look at that. That is just so cute. So even though it looks like I'm just fluffing it up and just having fun, well, I'm not gonna lie, I was having fun fluffing it up, but I'm actually trying to figure out where I'm going to have the neck of the snowman to be. And now I want to work on the parts that are going to be the face of the snowman. So I've got this orange clay. It's like Sculpey clay. And I'm going to roll out a couple of pieces because I'm going to bake this clay because this will be the carrot nose for my snowman. Now I'm going to do a few of these because I do have a few more snowman crafts that I want to make. And I figured, you know what? I might as well make a few of these little carrots so I have them for upcoming projects. Once I had the shape of the carrot, then I did come back with a knife and lightly draw across the carrot itself. This is going to put little depressions, little lines into each of the carrots to really make it look like one. And this clay is so much fun to work with. I think I got this on Amazon, but I love this stuff. So you make your project whatever you want it to be, then you put it in your oven for anywhere between 15 and 30 minutes at 275 degrees Fahrenheit to have the clay harden. I think I want to see if I can also make some peppermints with this clay. I think that would be really fun, especially for all of the Christmas projects. Now, once I had the carrots baking, then I came back to my snowman, and just like I started, I'm trying to determine where the center or where the neck is going to be. Then I didn't have a scarf, so I'm going to be using this fabric and I'm going to make a scarf. I saw this at Walmart. It was so pretty and it came in red and green. So once I had a section of this fabric torn off, then I folded the fabric in half and secured it with some hot glue. I did this down the entire piece of the fabric. This is going to be the scarf for my snowman. Then I came back with some scissors and I cut slits in the fabric on both ends. These are going to be the little fringy pieces that are on the ends of the scarf. Next, I'm just going to try to separate some of that fur from the faux fur, and now I'm going to tie the scarf in place. So I'm going to tie a square knot. So first I'm going to figure out where it's going to go and just pull it pretty tight. And then come back and do the second portion of the square knot. There is the scarf for my snowman. That is just so cute. I love that. And now I'm just going to fluff up the fur a little bit more. And this is for his face. So now I'm going to come back using some very sharp embroidery scissors just to remove some of that fur. And I know some of you might be cringing because, oh my gosh, she's cutting into the fur. But this is a necessary step to trim away the fur that would be in place where the face of the snowman is going to be. And if you just cut down into it, then you're not going to get those really harsh, sharp line cuts that you're going to be able to see. So now that I have my snowman's face cut out and ready to go, I'm going to put on the eyes. I didn't have any black beads, so I just painted over some pearls that I had. And if you don't have beads, you can also make half beads using your hot glue gun. That's what this is. But I did have these beads, so I went ahead and glued them to the snowman's face. Look at how cute that is. Next, I decided which carrot I wanted to use for his nose. And then I used some hot glue to glue that in place. Now you can see the B7000 up in the corner. That is what I used for the snowman's eyes, and I used the hot glue for his nose. Now I'm going to come back with some blush, and I'm just going to brush that on so you can see his cheeks. And for the buttons down the front, I decided to use these tiny jingle bells. So I just took 3 tiny jingle bells and I glued them down the center right underneath the scarf. Isn't that adorable? Now I found this ornament at home and it was so cute, and I really thought I wanted to add this to the top of my snowman. So I removed the hanger so that it's just a hat. And that does look really cute, but for this snowman, I decided I didn't really want to add a hat. I just want to have that frazzled snowman. I think it's perfect just like that. Now, if you wanted to, you could also add some arms using some sticks. But again, I wanted to keep this snowman just the snowman, just like this, just natural. Well, as natural as a frazzled snowman can be. But I really do like how this turned out, and I think it's a really fun project, something easy that you could make. Add to your Christmas decorations this year. It's super cute, and hopefully I showed you it was super easy to make. And I did want to include the snowman hat, so I just put it off to the side of the snowman, making my vignette complete. Well, I hope you had fun crafting with me today. And if you enjoyed this video and love ideas like this, be sure to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss my next creation. And remember, you can get a really high-end curated look without spending a lot of money, which also means you get to have some time in your craft room to do something that you love. And until next time, stay crafty.